Hello again, everyone. I'm back again with yet another serious and eye-opening message. And the topic of this message is not easy to discuss or whatever, but it needs to be talked about because they don't this subject that or this topic or this message that I'm about to give y'all or that I'm about to expand upon. They don't teach you this in school. They didn't. This isn't a part of the curriculum. And with what's been going on in the world for the past 14 months, and there's these talks of a great reset and stuff. I mean, it's becoming very, very clear to me. It's become very, very clear to me recently why they didn't teach this in school. Because if when they implement certain policies and stuff, number one, they want to catch us by surprise. It's kind of a bait and switch thing. Whereas they make it look like they're looking out for our best interest, but when the hammer really comes down and stuff, the hammer of repression or the jack, they put their jackboot on our throat and they jackboots on our throats and stuff of oppression. They don't in persecution or whatever. They want to catch us by surprise. They don't want us to be prepared for it and even make plans to resist the stuff and things of that nature. But anyway, the title of this message is the Holodomor, which is basically a political campaign. I forgot the other title for it. Something, a government policy or something that Joseph Stalin had imposed on the Ukrainians back in the early 1930s. Now, mind you, during this time, the United States was in the midst of a Great Depression and stuff. And so, since there was no internet and no television, and there was radios, but not many people had them. But usually middle class or wealthy people had radios typically. But anyways, it's called the Holodomor. In just in case you're wondering what that means, it's a combination of two Ukrainian words, which in the Ukrainian language, by the way, it pretty much contains the same Cyrillic alphabet as Russia and a few other Eastern European languages that I can't think of right now, but the words are different though. Excuse me. That's why it's easy. That's why, and one of the reasons that one of the aims of Joseph Stalin back when Russia and Ukraine, other Eastern Bloc nations or Eastern European nations were a part of the Soviet Union. You try to do away with Ukrainian nationalism and culture and language and stuff. You try to force those Ukrainians, especially the children, because usually these communistic regimes target children and stuff because they're more pliable. They have more of an innocence about. And they also target the elites and stuff. They target them for child abuse because they want that innocence that they had back when they was in heaven. They lost, but that ain't my subject for this message either. But anyways, they try to force the Ukrainians to try to pass a mandate for them to learn Russian and stuff because they knew that transition wasn't going to be all that hard because it's the same alphabet, but the Ukrainian language has one or two extra letters or something. Because I was trying to translate something that was written on it was on a picture regarding the siege of Leningrad that I got off of Wikipedia, and I got this program that's built into Microsoft Windows called Character Map. So I used the Russian letters and stuff. I kind of familiarized myself with that during that time. The Russian letters and stuff, so I could translate what it was saying. So it just got just a few letters shy of our English alphabet and stuff. It shouldn't be too hard. All you guys pronounce the letters are pronounced and things of that nature, and how they translate over to the English language or something. But anyways, he tried to get them to learn Russian and stuff. He tried to do away with Ukrainian nationalism, cultures and the language and things of that nature, the education curriculum, the religion. I'm just saying everything related to Ukrainian culture and nationality, but and even ethnicity, or whatever. Because you got the Kazakhs too, and that language as well has a Cyrillic alphabet. But anyways, uh, Holodomor comes from two words, okay? Moriti, which means death, and Holod, which means hunger, okay? So basically, what that means is first before he implemented he implemented a famine and stuff. While he did the famine, so that he starved people to death to get rid of them. And there's a debate, and it's really not a debate because it really isn't that hard to figure out when you study this thing that Joseph Stalin tried to commit, genocide. He had committed or tried to commit genocide on those people, okay? And he also did that on the Kazakhs too, and the Crimean Tatars and stuff. And the Kazakhs, by the way, a lot of them they look Asian or Oriental and stuff, so they weren't white. So in a way, it's kind of race thing, and even higher numbers of them died. They lost a third of their population during that horrific famine, which I think lasted for about a year or so, more or less. But anyway, it was absolutely catastrophic because when it comes to categories of famine, it's severe or catastrophic more than if the mortality is 1 million souls or more, 1 million people or more die in those in a situation like that. And the meaning of the word basically it could be one of three phrases. Okay, it's death by famine, murder by hunger, extermination by starvation. Okay, so the black horse has stomped through that land. The black horse of famine has stomped through that land big time. Okay. First, it was the white horse. It was Joseph Stalin rolling out his 5-year plan, which is similar to some kind of like another version of the Great Reset, basically, but for the Soviet Union or the U.S.S.R. And secondly, when the food shortages began to set in, and people were getting desperate and they were starting to starve and stuff. Then their families were starting to starve, and they were nicking food out of collective farms and stuff they were working on. They had I'm gonna have to do a part 2 to this because it's a long story in order to get y'all to understand what was really going on there. But anyways, when they was forced to go to those collective farms, and I also plan on doing another one about Mao's Great Leap Forward that took place some 25 years later in China, in mainland China. And it was very similar to what Joseph Stalin did to the Ukrainians and other surrounding nations that he hated. Okay, and even the Ukrainians within Russia, Ukrainian imports over in Russia. Okay. And by the way, him and Mao were best friends because I noticed that a lot of times celebrities and stuff and other public figures, they'll play dumb. And of course, I can tell they're lying because I got a gift now. And God, this is one of the gifts that God's entrusted me. I have a thing for, even if I don't know you're lying on the surface, like if you're being deceptive, I just get this uneasy feeling in my spirit about you that you're not telling the truth. But anyways, they're lying, hypocrite. And of course, I can tell they're lying, but Joseph Stalin, by the way, and Mao Zedong, they was best friends. Okay, they was ace coon buddies, as my mama like to say. Okay, they were best friends. Okay, where do you think Mao got the idea from to kill all those 70 million Chinese and stuff with his power? Not only with the Great Leap Forward, another messed up, jacked up government policy or political campaign, but the Cultural Revolution. The dust settled and the eye of the storm had finally settled over China. And then by 1966, the Cultural Revolution came in. Millions more people were murdered, okay? Okay, and y'all need to look into that too, because, and not only the Holodomor, but the Great Leap Forward in the Cultural Revolution to get an idea of what the elites have in store for us. And that's why they didn't teach this stuff in school, okay? Especially over here in the Western English-speaking countries like United States, Canada, UK, Australia, and New Zealand, okay? And even other countries around the world, okay? This I know this is systematic and Satan is behind it, okay? A lot of y'all try to look at this stuff from a natural perspective, but if you try to do that, number one, you're going to be missing the whole point. And number two, the devil is sitting back laughing at you because you don't know that you're in a spiritual battle, okay? We're not battling against flesh and blood. We're battling against powers and principalities. It's basically the forces of darkness against the forces of light, okay? It's basically the bad side against the good side, okay? And that's what we're in right now. We're in the midst of right now, okay? And they probably did that hacking thing, as I talked about in a previous discussing a previous message. They probably did that on purpose because it's just another excuse to raise the prices on things and to move this inflation thing along and stuff, so that it gets to the point because there's very well known there's already countries in the world, especially third world countries, that have problems with inflation and hyperinflation. It's especially bad in countries like Zimbabwe and Venezuela and stuff. So basically, the rulers, basically the Illuminati or Satan and the demons and fallen angels, the kingdoms of darkness that inhabit the second heaven, they're trying to enslave Earth's inhabitants and stuff like Joseph Stalin did. Okay, and they're trying to just turn developing countries into or developed countries like here in the West and stuff. They're very anti-West. Okay, they're trying to turn us into a third world country where people struggle to make it and stuff, and they in poverty and in debt and all this kind of stuff. And anyways, what Joseph Stalin did at first was he had sweet talked to people and said that because the farmers were given because he waged war on the farmers and stuff because Ukraine was a bread basket, okay? They had plenty of food and stuff. And they didn't really have problems with drought or anything like that. They had plenty. Their yields were just very rich and stuff. Of course, Joseph Stalin would use that to his advantage. So what he did, to make a long story short, was he hauled all these people. He hauled these people, forced these people to give up their land that was given back to him after the Russian Civil War, which also caused a famine in 1921 and 22, and 5 to 7 million people died from that. But the Holodomor, they say anywhere from 4 to up to 12 million people perished in that famine. The numbers is unknown. That's just an estimate, okay? But anyways, so he took their land back, and the people didn't like that, okay? And another thing he did as a part of his communistic regime was he did away with religion. He persecuted, believers and stuff, okay? And he tore a lot of churches down. And the main religion over there is the Russian Orthodox, the Eastern Russian Orthodox Church, which is basically a denomination that stemmed out of Roman. It's very similar. It's similar to Roman Catholicism as Protestantism and Lutheranism is basically. But anyways, he tore down churches and all this kind of stuff, closed them down and demolished them like China has been doing for decades and stuff. And another thing they encouraged, kind of on the down low, this isn't commonly known, but on the down low, they try to encourage couples not to get married, but to shack up instead. And for women, if they have, and for people to fornicate, kind of like a mini cultural or sexual countercultural revolution and stuff of sorts. And if women, and even I think they may have encouraged prostitution. Well, I don't know if they legalized it or if it's even legal or not. But anyways, so if they got unwanted pregnancy and stuff, they could go to an abortion. They were encouraged to get abortions and stuff if they didn't want the baby. Of course, I know the reason behind it, but this isn't my topic for this message. This is my subject for this message. But anyhow, they encourage, women to get out there and abort, the fornicate stuff, so that when they become pregnant, they have more, that's abortion is nothing more than just ritual, another form of ritual child sacrifice, basically. Okay, because they need that blood and they need that flesh and stuff to feast off of. That's why they brainwash people to fornicate, so when they become pregnant, they can have an abortion. They have more baby flesh, and to eat and baby blood to drink. Okay, because they need that. Okay, because this is how evil and wicked they are, and that's what the Bible tells, that the lake of fire is created for the devil and his angels. So why does that tell you? They're also responsible for a lot of for millions of children around the world every year being snatched off the streets and never seen again, just to be used for pornographic or satanic purposes. But anyways, back to that, he sweet talked the Ukrainian farmers and the ones that were had a little more. The peasants, they didn't have much to start with, but the ones that were basically lower middle class or middle class, which is another part of the Great Reset. Plan the Great Reset is to do away with to abolish the middle class, so that way everybody just about be struggling, okay? While the ones at the top, have a good time, eat what they want and stuff. While the folks at the bottom, the lower bottom, I'm gonna just say the pyramid toppers is the lady that follows me and see it. So the pyramid toppers sit around and have a good time and stuff, eat all they want to, and bring little kitty sex slaves in to torture, rape, and kill. And while, us at the bottom of the pyramid, especially at the lowest part, we struggle and wonder where our next meal has come from. And to be honest, I've been through that, okay, a number of years ago. I mean, I don't have time to get into that, but I'm just saying I had to deal with that kind of drama a number of years ago. But anyways, they want us to struggle and they become richer. Like y'all heard that saying for decades, richer. Like in that song Maria Maria by David something, I forgot his last name, that black fellow that could sing real good, and Carlos Santana. It's about the richer getting richer and the poor getting poorer and stuff. But anyways, it took the ones that had a little bit more, that were lower middle class, such as myself, and middle class. That's people that can afford to buy those nice 2-story houses or live in condominiums or whatever. And the upper middle class, of course, they borderline rich basically. But anyways, the ones that had a little more and stuff, that were middle class and lower middle class. And of course, I think the upper middle class people live in the cities, but the peasants and the middle class, lower and middle class, they lived out in the country. The countryside, they live like 20 or 30 miles out in the country. Okay, so if you were in that category, if you were above a peasant level, above poverty level, they consider you a kulak and stuff. And they took everything you had. It took all your food and stuff. That's why I told y'all in that previous message that I had, that doomsday prepping as well as good as that is, okay, what if between now and the rapture, and please watch that message by Danny Castle called The Great Reset, and he'll give you some ideas of what, the elites got playing. I don't know how much of that stuff is going to come to pass or whatever, how much they're going to implement it or how strong it's going to be. But I know it's going to reach a zenith. It's going to reach the point where God's people are going to pray, for the rapture to take place, and God going to answer our prayers and take us out of here. And just let hell reign and rain his judgment and plagues and trouble down on this earth. But anyways, one of the plans of the Great Reset is do away with the middle class because, it involves economic matters and stuff. Okay? And as you know, it's Soviet Russia, which lasted from basically, lasted from 1921 or 22 until 1991, which was 70 years almost. As y'all noticed, there were shortages in those in Russia and everything. And somebody said they lived in Romania. It was even worse in Romania. And they had to stand in line for hours, just to get enough food for them and their families to eat for basically the next few days and stuff. It's not that we'd be on waiting lists for years to get a pair of shoes. But basically stood in line for food and toiletries, like toilet paper or bread or whatever. They had to do it for hours. And when they went to those supermarkets, sometimes they had plenty of a few things and stuff, but they had meat and stuff, and all times it was spoiled, or it was gone bad, or it was old, or whatever. I seen videos like that on YouTube a number of months ago. But when the Soviet Union failed, things got a little better. And I think I heard John Hagee say earlier this morning on a video about what's going on in Israel right now with, the Gaza Strip and stuff. He said that one of the plans of Russia is as emerging world superpower. They're trying to Putin and stuff and them and the gang. They trying to reestablish the U.S.S.R, which means the United Soviet Socialist Russia or something like that, or Socialist Republic of Russia or something like that. I don't know. I got to find out exactly what they meant. But anyways, but basically, if you above the poverty line and stuff, Joseph Stalin made you go on he consider you a kulak, and he just had people exiled or even killed on the spot that they refused. They exiled you to Russia, sent you to a gulag, which is a Soviet version of a concentration camp, and the conditions were basically the same as during the Holocaust, during the World War II, which took place after things had settled down over in Russia. The U.S.S.R, the Soviet Union. But anyways, Hitler came to power. By the way, him, Stalin, Adolf Hitler, Joseph Stalin, and Mao Zedong, they were all friends. Okay, they were best friends. And celebrities, by the way, since they're all demons and stuff, and they lived in heaven for billions of years and stuff together, having a good time, so forth. They all know each other, okay? They know each other very well. Some of them cross paths more than others, with each other more than others, but still they all know each other, okay? And they're all related because when they clone them, well, this isn't my subject either, but when they clone them, they basically make them, I'm gonna say a lot of celebrities resemble each other because they're made with the same DNA. But anyhow, back to the Holodomor. Okay, basically starved the people there, and they caught you stealing something. They shot you, or they sent you to the gulags, or they exiled you to Siberia, where they dropped you off basically and fend for yourself. A lot of times people froze to death or died from hunger or starvation and disease and stuff. Okay, first the white horse rode there. It was Joseph Stalin sweet talking everybody, saying he's gonna make a utopia out of the Soviet Union. Then the red horse came in, but people refused to go on those collective farms. He imprisoned them or even had them murdered. And then the black horse came after they had forced them to export all that grain and stuff. They had plenty of grain, and there's no drought or disease or crop blight or whatever, or flooding or other natural disasters that destroy the crops and stuff. That he forced them to and even went into people's homes like the human locusts they were, and seized all of their food and stuff, so they were starved to death. Okay, that was deliberate. That was done deliberately, which is a very slow and painful way to go. But anyways, no further ado, I'm out. Peace.